Starbucks has won the war. It has won the American coffee war, and victory in this war propelled the company to coffee stardom. Starbucks' victory was hard won, and the journey to triumph is nothing short of fascinating. Welcome to the untold story of Starbucks. Starbucks started with three young men, Jerry Baldwin, Gordon Bowker, and Zev Siegel, in Seattle, Washington. Back in the 1970s, American coffee drinkers settled for inexpensive, poorly brewed coffee. Why? The World War made the consumption of instant coffee popular. For folks who migrated to America from Europe, what passed for coffee in America was completely off-putting. Life was hard for the average quality coffee lover in 1970s America, and these three friends made it easier. However, they didn't do it solely because they wanted quality coffee lovers to have coffee. The three friends were motivated solely by profits. You see, Zev, Gordon, and Baldwin wanted to change their lives. They were looking for the perfect idea, and the coffee idea was just one of many. It was the first idea that worked out, and they came across the idea because of bad coffee. Here's what happened. The friends used to meet once in a while to brainstorm business ideas. So one afternoon, after ordering and drinking 3 bad espressos during their usual idea mining hangout, Baldwin had an idea. The idea was to sell coffee beans, tea, spices, coffee makers, grinders, and teapots. And with little effort, he convinced his friends. But to achieve their aim, they needed one thing: knowledge. The three friends knew American coffee was bad, but didn't know how to improve it. Thankfully, Seattle City had an anti-bad coffee crusader, Alfred Peet. Mr. Peet built a coffee roasting company to stop the richest country in the world from drinking the lousiest coffee. And when Zev approached him for guidance on how to build a coffee business, he was happy to increase the number of anti-bad coffee crusaders in America. Mr. Peet provided the three friends with fresh roasted coffee beans, and 2 of the friends, Baldwin and Bowker, apprenticed at Peet's for some time. The three friends acquired knowledge, but as they will find out, knowledge wasn't enough. And if you like to learn about the history of your favorite eateries, be sure to subscribe for more content like this. Thanks to Peet's knowledge and support, the three friends had enough to start their business. Each of the friends contributed $1,500. They obtained a loan of $5,000 and found a store near Pike's Place Market for $137. Then, what remained was a name. During their search, they got an idea from an unlikely source. One of Gordon's friends, Terry Heckler, argued that names beginning with ST are bold and memorable. Coincidentally, Gordon saw a town named Starbo while skimming an old mining map in his office. Starbo reminded Gordon of a character in the legendary novel Moby Dick, Starbucks, the first mate of Captain Ahab's ship Pequod. So based on Heckler's recommendation, the trio went with Starbucks. Now with a suitable name, business began. But it didn't boom as the friends thought it would. In less than a year, they entered a ditch, and one thing became certain: these three friends needed to evolve, or their business would sink. They must become 3 wise friends, or throw everything down the drain. Less than 2 years after increasing his army of anti-bad coffee crusaders, Alfred Peet decided to cut them off. But it wasn't because of anything sinister. Peet wanted the boys to find their feet and not rely on him so much. Instead, he taught Baldwin how to roast coffee beans and helped the business acquire a used machine. With what Peet did, the trio had to evolve. Then the business experienced fast growth. It opened 2 branches in Seattle between 1972 and 1973. Then, something unthinkable happened. The company went broke. How? Inexperience. The trio didn't track their expenses, but they were lucky. Family and friends contributed money to help the business stay afloat. But bad fortune wasn't done with the business. 4 years after its inception in 1975, bankruptcy came knocking. Frost destroyed the Piranha Coffee Island in Brazil. Angola and Ethiopia fought civil wars. Worker strikes affected coffee exports in Guatemala. Flood affected Colombian coffee exports. It rained and it poured. The result of this chaos? A hike in coffee bean prices. Coffee became the new gold. The company lost 25% of its retail sales, and things were bad. It was about to get worse. The owners of their flagship store decided to tear it down, so the trio had to find another location. The business got another storefront at 1912 Pike Place in the Pike Place Market. It was able to secure a $95,000 credit lifeline that helped it stay afloat until 1978. 3 years after the Black Frost in Brazil, the price of coffee beans slowly went down. Losses became profits, and the business experienced another growth spurt. Amidst this growth spurt, Zev came up with the ideas to diversify and expand the business, but his co-founders weren't interested, and then they became two. Zev sold his shares and left the company in May 1980. After Zev left, the company grew exponentially. The company's sales grossed $4.4 million in the 1980 to 1981 fiscal year. But this post-Zev growth doesn't imply that Zev Siegel was an agent of bad fortune. Instead, it was a reflection of the American thirst for coffee. The coffee scarcity caused hunger among people, and a young salesman, Howard Schultz from New York, could smell the opportunity from people's desires. Howard Schultz, a salesman, visited the company in 1982, and after he toured the company, he knew he wanted to be part of it. So he applied for the role of director of marketing, and thanks to his persuasive skills, Baldwin and Bowker got him on board. Schultz brought change. A year after Schultz joined the Starbucks project, the company sent him on a journey to the West. He represented the company at a trade show in Western Europe and Italy. That was where he tasted the Italian latte for the first time and sensed a revolution coming. He wanted the company he worked for to lead that revolution. The taste of Italian latte convinced him that espresso bars were the future of the business, and he started a new crusade. The company continued to grow. In May 1984, the company opened its 6th location in Seattle, where it sold espresso coffees. 3 months later, in October, it bought Pete's place. Recall Pete, the guy who taught Baldwin how to roast coffee beans? Jerry bought his business as Starbucks president. In that same year, the company opened a branch for Pete's in San Francisco, California, and business continued to boom. After 2 years of continued growth in the gourmet coffee industry, this growth made the company reorganize. In the middle of these changes, Schultz decided it was time to say goodbye. He left to start his own business, Il Giornale Coffee Company. Not long after, Bowker left the company. He was stressed and wanted to focus on 2 of his new but thriving businesses, Red Hook Brewery and Appanag. And then there was one. Baldwin was left alone. He felt he couldn't manage Starbucks and Pete's simultaneously, so he had to choose one, and he chose Pete's, the more popular option. This meant Starbucks was up for sale in 1987. But something surprising happened. Schultz returned with a new group of investors, and they acquired the chain from its original owners. Howard Schultz became the company's new CEO. The next decade came with a boom in locations. The company went public in 1992, and by that time, it had 140 locations. Capital from the IPO also allowed the company to double its locations that same year. Starbucks' growth in the coffee industry attracted the attention of investors and entrepreneurs. Naturally, the chain also had lots of competition, and it wasn't ready to lose to competitors. So to solve the problem, the chain went on a competition-killing spree. It acquired at least 4 of its early competitors from 1994 to 2008. One of those competitors, the Coffee Connection, gave the company one of its best-selling products, the Frappuccino beverage. 2008 to 2010 was another testing period for the company. Growth slowed down for the company due to the Great Recession, and it had to reduce its growth rate, but it returned to its winning ways in 2012. But during that period of slowed growth, the company answered the call to controversies. It experienced 9 racial controversies from 2008 to 2023. And within that period, in 2021, the company started a war against workers' unions. It sacked over 85 workers involved in organizing workers' unions and employed Littler Mendelsohn, a union-busting organization. Starbucks is the product of 3 innovative young men who wanted to change their lives. These young men set out on a war against poor coffee in the U.S. and built a thriving business. In less than 2 decades, they left it all behind to a former employee who made it a coffee empire. And today, it's a coffee house chain with over 35,000 locations in 84 countries. Do you think the company would have grown to its current height under its founders? Or are the new owners better than the founders? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to support our channel.